Hello, and welcome to the Canopy Studios Accessibility Demo. One of our goals here at Canopy is to make the web a better place for everyone, and that means building websites that are accessible and inclusive. We strive to provide level AA websites for our clients according to the WCAG guidelines. Our developers offered monthly training on accessibility methods, testing, and requirements. Some of the initiatives we have here are ally summits internally as our team gets together and shares information, shares tips and tricks for building accessibly, and educates new staff. We do ally teaching and learning sessions each month where we can get together and kind of dig deep into a specific issue. Those all get compiled into ally resources that are open and available for all of our staff at any time. We also have an accessibility Slack channel for people to kind of jam on problems, ask questions, or get clarification on the best solution for specific problems. Additionally, any staff member who is looking to be certified will be supported by Canopy, and Canopy will give them dev hours and funding in order to take those tests. Our team uses a number of accessibility tools, often in combination. As you probably know, one tool really doesn't kind of get everything. So we do everything from using these different tools to doing manual testing, and if the developer is comfortable with screen reader testing, that as well, or bringing in another developer to kind of assist on that. One of my favorite tools is the Axe tool, which you can see here has a clean bill of health on NCBI, which is fantastic. Another tool is the Site Improve checker over here. We've got that. And then a lot of people will put in a URL into the Wave tool, which is also a really handy dandy thing. And recently we discovered Andy, which is a pretty neat tool as well. So we also will use this in our testing. All of this comes with a little caveat. Sometimes we will get client requests that create scenarios that are not compliant with WCAG guidelines. When that happens, Canopy offers alternative solutions to achieve similar results. However, at the end of the day, there are sometimes instances where the client's priorities mean a compromise to that accessibility, and we're here to meet our clients' needs. We also do try to give our clients power and agency to edit their own content. We provide education and instructions to assist, but the accessibility of client-entered content is often out of our hands. Accessibility is also an ongoing process. What is accessible today might not be accessible tomorrow because it's been edited or changed, or there's been remediation as something else has been introduced to the site. And it's just a constant process of checking and double checking and rechecking and just making adjustments as we find them, and always being willing to grow what we've got so it is better. Now we're coming into the fun part, the demonstrations of accessibility on different sites built by Canopy. Starting off here with First Tee. One thing you'll know about First Tee is that these buttons are really big and they're fantastic for tap areas, which are great for people with motor control difficulties. There's no audio content, but there is a lot of additional context added to items in order to provide information to assistive technologies. For example, here we've got an area label on this Learn More, and Learn More being a notoriously bad button label, but the area label will actually say here, welcome to First Tee. So we've given the client the ability to add additional context for those who are visually impaired and using a screen reader, and then just making sure that the buttons are really obvious. There's no question on this page what is a button and what will actually action something. And just to get started, let's start tabbing down the page. First up, we see a skip to content, which is great, but we're going to go through the header anyway. You can see we've got these nice, obvious dotted line focus states for the most part. And on the buttons, you also get the button hover. So it actually creates a very neat effect. And you can see in here, this enter zip code works as well. We can use this drop down with the keyboard, so I can switch to coaching. And we've got coaching items. You can see there's a couple without pictures. And we'll switch over to events, and now I can go through and you can see that the titles are highlighted as though they are links for the whole card. We got to the Learn More, the next Learn More, and the third Learn More, and then down into the footer. A little disclaimer on the footer, it's backwards. Typically, you do want to follow a focus order of left to right, whatever makes the most sense, but in this case, the site footer exists differently on mobile and is stacked mobile first. So we actually pop over to the subscribe area and then through the social icons, which again are nice and big and tap friendly. And then we go into the main menu options down to the legal menu, and that's the page. All right, next up is links. Now we're gonna test out the Canopy homepage, and we're gonna be doing it with VoiceOver. I am not a VoiceOver native user, so this might not be a perfect experience. I do apologize. I'm doing my best with it. So I'm just gonna start out with the very first link, which is skip to content.
Skip to content. Link. Canopy Studios. Link. Work. Link. Services. Link. Blog. Link. About Us. Link. Design. Link. Build. Link. Support. Link.
I believe it skipped the Contact Us because it is a button and not a link.
View our work. Link. Contact us. Link. View First Tee plus Canopy. Case study. Link. Build my site. Link.
Oh, I have to scroll while I go to show. All right, this is the item that it's on.
Support my site. Link. Grow my site. Link.
And we'll just keep scrolling here.
View our work. Link. Drupal. Link. WordPress. Link. Education. Link.
I just want to call out that when you actually hover over this, you see Learn More, but the word education is the important one here. So that's the one that's getting passed through to the screen reader.
Nonprofit. Link. Healthcare. Link. Corporate. Link. Design. Link. Build. Link. Support. Link. Chat with Tanya. Link.
Tanya.
Research and discovery. Link. Content strategy. Link. User experience. Link. Website design. Link. Website development. Link. Website support. Link. Careers. Link.
And it skipped the newsletter email sign up because this is a link review.
Contact. Link. View our Clutch profile in a new window. Link.
I like that one.
Do not sell my personal information. Link. Privacy policy. Link. Accessibility statement. Link. Find Canopy on Facebook. Link. Find Canopy on Twitter. Link. Find Canopy on LinkedIn. Link. Find Canopy on YouTube. Link. Find Canopy on Drupal. Link. Find Canopy on WP. Link. Find Canopy on GitHub. Link.
All right, so there you have it. That is the reading of the links of the Canopy homepage. Next up is video. Canopy recommends for video content that our clients utilize video hosting services that have caption capabilities such as YouTube and Vimeo. At the very least, these platforms offer auto-generated captions that can be used in place of custom captioning, and their video embeds are accessible via keyboard. I'm just going to go over here to Bookshare for Lithuania, and I'm going to use the keyboard to actually get into this video. So there's a see how it works there, and I'm just going to click, and it brings up a modal pop-up. Before I start the video, I'm just going to tab through, and you can see I can utilize all of those controls, but I'm also back up at the top of the modal with the X button. So I am in this modal with my keyboard, and I don't move out of it, and I'm not lost on the page somewhere. So you're not stuck trying to get back to this. You can actually just start utilizing it, and I'm going to hop in and start the video.
Books are keys to learning. We use them in school.
And I've used my keyboard to get to the mute button. That's why it took me so long, so that I can mute the video. But I'm also going to move forward and turn on closed captioning. These are custom captions that Bookshare has done, as reading and accessibility of reading for everyone is what's important to them. So you can see here I can continue through those controls, and I can get back up and I can exit out. Okay, next up is the headings, and for that we're going to be testing Canopy Studios website again, and this time the case study for Covenant House. We're going to be doing this with VoiceOver, so just be enabling that now.
Skip to content.
Okay, and then we're going to start down the headings.
Covenant House. You are currently on a heading level 1.
That's what we want to hear.
Client overview. You are currently on a heading level 2. Services provided. You are currently on a heading level 3. The challenge. You are currently on a heading level 2. Emergency design, development and support in response to a global pandemic. You are currently on a heading level 2. COVID-19 hub. You are currently on a heading level 3. Night of Stars. You are currently on a heading level 3. The solution. You are currently on a heading level 2. Key features. You are currently on a heading level 2. Donation UX integrations. You are currently on a heading level 3. Updated functionality. You are currently on a heading level 3. Website growth plan. You are currently on a heading level 3. 2021 Pantheon Lightning Awards for Covenant House by Canopy. You are currently on a heading level 2. The result. You are currently on a heading level 2. Related work. You are currently on a heading level 2. UCSF School of Nursing. Link. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Ctrl. International Association of Business Communicators. Link. You are currently on a link. To click this link, press Ctrl. Space.
These two are actually headings that are also links, so I believe it's reading it out as link, but they are an H3, which is correct usage underneath that related work, which is an H2.
Canopy. You are currently on a heading level 2.
So Canopy here is a word mark, but we've also sent through the information of just Canopy as to the screen reader so that they're aware that this is a heading. So they don't need to be able to see the word mark. They know that Canopy is there. Anywhere that you see the Canopy word mark on our website, that functionality is in place. And this is also the last heading on the page, so we'll stop there. And that brings us over to the color contrast. Obviously, color is a huge part of design. Our designers are looking to meet the WCAG guideline of the 4.5:1 ratio, and they will make sure that their color contrast combinations are all sufficient to meet that guideline before it comes to the developers. Developers, a lot of times when we're developing, we'll get quick requests to change a button or a color or put something new somewhere it wasn't put in the design, and we will double check and test those colors again to ensure that the combinations work. And if they don't, we'll go back to the designers and kind of jam on what options we have and then return to the client with some alternatives. For example, you'll notice that on the First Tee site, the logo here, the green in the logo is lighter than the green in the buttons. That's because while we were working on this, we did notice that their brand green does not meet that color contrast. So we asked them if we could darken up the interactive elements to ensure that they did meet that contrast. And First Tee was awesome, and they said, yeah, that's great. Accessibility is important to us. We're happy to do that. So that change was made on this site. And then going through, you can see that there is some really good color contrast here. The Cohen Veterans Network, also great contrast, but specifically I want to call out this hero here. Imagery is really important in design, but people also often want to put text on top of that. And in this case, we've used an overlay to ensure that the text is visible at all times and pushed the main part of the image over to the side. And then throughout the rest of the page, you can see that that color contrast is maintained. Over here on Synapse, there's some color contrast. Fun fact, I thought this blue would not meet the contrast, and I double checked it right before this, and it is good to go. We've got Bookshare. Some graphical elements don't need to meet the higher the contrast, they can meet the lower one, so those do exist, but whenever we have text color combinations, we do have that contrast. And then over here, we've got the Canopy website, which you've seen by now, but it also has great contrast. Alternative text, the stuff behind the scenes that explains what you see in an image. For this, Canopy leans in on the CMS, which usually has alt text functionality, and what we do is just ensure that images are output with their alt text, and we afford our clients every opportunity to add effective alt text to their media. We also do give some instruction and education for our clients not to use images of text, but if they do need to use the alt text in order to explain that image. For examples, Canopy actually has an infographic on the homepage that is text in an image. But if you look at the alt text, we actually explain this entire thing. An infographic of Canopy's 3-part CWI process of strategize, implement, learn, and reiterate. Also, we have the word mark that exists in some places on the site, and that is, we've already experienced in part of this demo, but the word mark does send through the phrase Canopy. Over on Synapse, just an example of when clients correctly use their alt text, they can be very effective. On here we have a graphic of numbers raining on an open umbrella, which does explain this image. And then onto this one, the Philippines bronze medal winning team at the 1954 World Championships. And moving on to the next one, hand holds a canister with a radioactive sign. So alt text can be used effectively or ineffectively. That is often up to the client, but we do make sure that if they do use alt text, it gets put out onto the page. And if they don't, then we still have the alt tag available in order to maintain proper HTML structure and accessibility. Scalable text is necessary in order to ensure that users can use zoom functions or digital magnifying glasses or other assistive technologies that do scale font for the best reading experience. The easiest way to do this is to just use scalable font measurements such as REMS, which is what Canopy does. You can see here on our website, which uses REMS for the most part. And if we start to zoom in up to 200%, you can see that all of the font zoomed with that. There is nothing that got left behind. Everything here is visible. And though parts of the site are now behaving as though they have changed their position responsively, overall, everything is still readable. There's no broken experiences. It just works. We're just gonna unzoom here. Alternatively, if for something like Bookshare, there's also controls in order to allow the user to scale their text. And this site uses percentages instead of REMS. For this here, I just wanted to highlight that this is keyboard accessible, so I'll go back and forth here, and I can bump up my text size there, and I can go back down, and you can see that that does impact all of the text here. It also sticks so that you can visit this at any point while you're reading the page. Okay, welcome to the final demo. We're going to go through using the filters on the First Tee News page, going through the categories and then sorting by the elements, the available options, and we're going to be doing this with VoiceOver. So I'm going to start by moving into this section.
Filter by categories. You are currently on a text element.
All right, so we have basically a precursor to let me know that there's filter categories coming here. I'm going to move into the first group.
Categories, group. You are currently in a group.
And now I'm going to move into the very first item of that group.
Character education, 88, unchecked. You are currently on a checkbox. Group. To select or deselect this checkbox, press Control, Option, Space.
So I'm going to select this box.
Character education, 88, checked. Categories, group. You are currently on a checkbox. Group. To select or deselect this checkbox, press Ctrl, Option, Space.
Okay, and now I'm going to move through the next ones relatively quickly.
Coaching, events, feature story, news releases, 58, end of, categories, group. You are currently on a group.
All right, so here she's let me know that I have reached the end of the group. For now, I'm going to move into the sort by select.
Sort by, select. You are currently on a button. To display a list of options, press Ctrl, Option, Space, Select. You are currently on a menu item. To choose this title. You are currently on a menu item. To choose this menu item, press Ctrl, Option, Space. To close this menu, press Escape.
I'm going to use title.
Title. You are currently on a button. To display a list of options, press Ctrl, Option, Space.
So now I've made that selection, and I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Filtered results. You are currently on a heading level 2.
So you'll notice that filtered results heading level 2 does not appear for the visual user, but it is there for the screen reader. And now I can start moving through my results.
20 things we're looking forward to in 2020. Link, 4 steps to developing a healthy mindset. Link, 4 ways to encourage positive thinking in kids. Link, 5 steps for helping youth overcome shyness. Link.
And there I have done it. So I can use my filters and I can use my sort by function on the First Tee news page. All right, well, that wraps things up for our demo. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. As Canopy, we are excited to partner with clients who value accessibility and inclusivity as much as we do. We're dedicated to growing the web in a direction where it is available and reachable to all. If that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you get in touch with our sales team. We'd love to hear from you.